US President Donald Trump claims major gains against Iran as the escalating conflict raises the number of casualties and prompts threats from Iran's new supreme leader. South Korea has imposed its first domestic fuel price cap in nearly 30 years as global oil prices surge above $100, following Iran's renewed threats to continue its blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. President Lee Jae-myung is set to host his counterparts from France and Indonesia as Seoul moves to deepen strategic partnerships in this time of global turbulence. US President Donald Trump is touting major military gains against Iran, but the expanding conflict is bringing new casualties and complications across the region. Chung Hae-rim reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the United States is making major military gains against Iran. In a social media post on Friday, the U.S. commander-in-chief stated that America is, quote, totally destroying Iran's leadership and military capabilities as the war in the Middle East continues to escalate. However, the realities of the ongoing war are proving complex. A KC-135 U.S. military aerial refueling aircraft has crashed in western Iraq as part of operations connected to the ongoing war with Iran. U.S. Central Command confirmed the incident on Thursday, saying rescue efforts are underway, though the condition of the crew remains unclear. Officials said the crash was, quote, not due to hostile or enemy fire, and investigations into the cause are ongoing. Additionally, casualties caused by the conflict are rising across the region. French President Emmanuel Macron confirmed that a French soldier was killed in northern Iraq in the Erbil region and added that several others were wounded in an attack that was, quote, unacceptable. The U.S. military evacuated 19 injured service members to a military hospital in Germany, including troops wounded by a drone explosion. Meanwhile, tensions across the region continue to rise. Iran has vowed to continue its response. New Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei said during his first public message since taking power that Tehran will keep targeting U.S. allies in the region and maintain pressure on global shipping routes in the Persian Gulf, closing oil routes in the Strait of Hormuz. Despite the economic turmoil, U.S. President Trump spoke positively about the situation during a press conference celebrating Women's History Month at the White House.
The situation with Iran is moving along very rapidly. It's doing very well. Our military is unsurpassed.
However, Iranian Security Chief Ali Larijani issued a stark warning in response, stating that starting a war is easy, but it, quote, cannot be won with a few tweets promising to make the U.S., quote, sorry. Chung Hae-rim, Arirang News.
Iran's latest threats also sent global oil prices over $100 a barrel, prompting the U.S. to ease sanctions on Russian oil. Kim Do-yeon explains.
Global oil prices have surged past the $100 mark following Iran's declaration to continue blockading the Strait of Hormuz, prompting the United States to temporarily ease sanctions on Russian oil. May futures for Brent Crude jumped 9.2% on Thursday to close at $100.46 a barrel. This marks the first time Brent has closed above the $100 threshold since August 2022. April futures for West Texas Intermediate also spiked 9.7%, settling at $95.73. The surge follows Iran's new Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei's first official televised address. He ordered the continued use of Hormuz blockade as leverage against the United States and Israel, signaling an aggressive shift in military posture. Tensions have escalated as Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps attacked multiple vessels for allegedly ignoring warnings. At least 16 ships have been targeted in the region since the situation began. The International Energy Agency officially confirmed that the ongoing Middle East situation is causing the largest supply disruption in oil market history. In a drastic measure to counter skyrocketing prices, the U.S. government announced Thursday it will temporarily permit the sale of some sanctioned Russian crude and petroleum products. The Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control issued a general license approving sales until April 11th for Russian oil loaded onto ships before 12:01 a.m. that day. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent stated on social media that the temporary authorization allows countries to purchase Russian oil currently stranded at sea to expand the existing global supply. He noted the short-term measure applies only to oil already in transit and will not provide meaningful financial benefit to the Russian government. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Here in South Korea, the government has put in place a price cap on fuel to ease the burden on consumers. Park Jun-an has the latest.
The national average gasoline price at gas stations as of Friday at 10 a.m. hit 1,883.79 Korean won, or roughly $1.26. This is around 15 won lower than the previous day and marks the third consecutive day of decline, even as global oil prices hit $100 per barrel and continue their upward trend. This comes as the South Korean government has implemented a temporary price cap on domestic fuel. Beginning midnight on Friday, it is the first such measure in nearly 30 years since the full liberalization of oil prices in 1997. It usually takes 2 to 3 weeks for fluctuations in international oil prices to be reflected at domestic gas stations.
The government will take firm action against excessive price hikes that exploit the crisis and will implement a price cap on petroleum products to ease the burden on consumers.
This step comes in response to supply concerns and sharp oil price surges triggered by the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz and ongoing tensions in the Middle East. The system sets upper limits on the wholesale supply prices that refineries can charge to gas stations and distributors. Regular gasoline is capped at 1,724 won per liter, automotive diesel at 1,713 won per liter, and household kerosene at 1,321 per liter. The maximum prices are calculated based on refiners' pre-Middle East conflict supply prices, adjusted by international oil price fluctuation rates and added taxes. The government will review and reset these maximum prices every 2 weeks, taking into account developments in the Middle East and global oil trends. Retail prices at individual gas stations are not directly subject to the cap due to regional variations and enforcement challenges. However, the government has strengthened monitoring alongside a ban on hoarding and profiteering. Gas stations that charge unusually high markups compared to their supply prices will be publicly named. If they're caught doing it again, they will face a full investigation by multiple agencies for possible collusion, poor fuel quality, or stockpiling. The government is also preparing additional measures such as potential fuel tax cuts and targeted subsidies for vulnerable groups if the situation worsens. Park Jun-an, Arirang News.
Come early April, President Lee Jae-myung will play host to his counterparts from Indonesia and France in separate summits, aimed at advancing South Korea's pragmatic diplomacy as it seeks to better navigate the current climate of geopolitical turbulence. Our Blue House correspondent Song Yoo-jin reports.
President Lee Jae-myung is set for more high-level diplomacy next month, with the leaders of France and Indonesia scheduled to make state visits to South Korea. According to the Blue House on Friday, French President Emmanuel Macron will pay his first-ever visit to South Korea from April 2nd to 3rd. The trip will mark the first by a French president in 11 years. The summit between Lee and Macron will take place on April 3rd. Blue House spokesperson Kang Yoo-jung says they will discuss expanding cooperation in trade, advanced technologies, culture, as well as regional and global issues. Attention is also on whether the two sides will elevate bilateral ties to a strategic partnership, an idea first raised when the two leaders met on the sidelines of the G20 summit last November.
그리고 프랑스와 대한민국의 관계도 전략적 동반자 관계로 한 단계 더 격상하고 문화 분야 등 경제 분야든 안보 분야든 첨단 기술이든 이런 각 분야에서 협력을 좀 더 확고하게 했으면 좋겠습니다.
I will schedule a visit to your country for 2026 and as well to celebrate this birthday of our diplomatic relation, but as well to see on the different topics from defense and security to artificial intelligence and quantum, space, renewable energies and nuclear.
South Korea and France mark 140 years of diplomatic relations this year. Ahead of that meeting, President Lee will hold summit talks with Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto on April 1st. The two last met during the APEC leaders meeting in Gyeongju. The summit is expected to focus on strengthening Seoul and Jakarta's special strategic partnership. Particular attention is on defense cooperation, as Indonesia is one of South Korea's major arms export partners. The two countries are also collaborating on the KF-21 보라매 project, a joint defense initiative to develop the KF-21 advanced fighter jet.
군사안보 분야에서 전투기 공동 개발 같은 아주 깊이 있는 협력 관계가 맺어졌는데 더 큰 결과로 되돌아오게 될 수 있도록 계속적인 협력 관계를 이어나가면 좋겠습니다.
I think we will continue to discuss the follow-up of the KF-21 project. So I think negotiations are continuing.
These back-to-back summits show Seoul's push to strengthen ties with key partners in Europe and Southeast Asia as countries around the world navigate an increasingly uncertain global landscape. 송유진, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae-myung has proposed merging the provinces of Chungcheong-do and Chungcheong-do with the city of Daejeon into a single metropolitan region. Speaking at a town hall meeting with residents in Chungcheong-do Province on Friday, he said such integration could help strengthen the area's economic and administrative power. His remarks come as a special bill to integrate Daejeon and Chungcheong-do Province failed to pass the National Assembly following local opposition and political division. Ruling lawmakers say integration will facilitate regional development, while opposition lawmakers claim the move is politically motivated ahead of the June local elections. The Foreign Ministry says it will respond firmly to Japan's latest territorial claim of the Korean islets of Dokdo. The statement was delivered to Arirang News after Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi said during a parliamentary session on Friday that the islets known in Japan as Takeshima are Japanese territory. Takaichi said Japan would clearly inform the international community of its position. The Japanese leader also said the government would work towards making it possible in the future to send a cabinet minister to its annual Takeshima Day event. In response, South Korea's foreign ministry said Dokdo is clearly South Korea's inherent territory, historically, geographically, and under international law. Dokdo is currently administered by South Korea with a permanent police presence on the islets. The ministry added the government will respond firmly and sternly to any unjust claims by Japan regarding Dokdo. A passenger train from North Korea to China arrived in Beijing on Friday, marking the first such arrival in 6 years. Our foreign affairs correspondent, Oh Si-young, has more.
The first train departing from Pyongyang arrived at Beijing railway station Friday morning, right on schedule. It had left the North Korean capital at 10:26 a.m. the previous day, pulling in at the platform in Beijing at 8:40 a.m. after a near 25-hour journey. Electronic display boards at Beijing station began announcing the arrival about an hour in advance, identifying the service as train K28 from Pyongyang, set to arrive on platform 10. The railway link was suspended in January 2020 when North Korea sealed its borders to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The route is jointly operated by Chinese and North Korean railways and runs through Tianjin, Sanhaiguan, Shenyang and the border city of Dandong before crossing into North Korea through Siniju. China Railway says the service will operate Monday, Wednesday, Thursday and Saturday in both directions, restoring a long-standing symbol of cross-border exchange between the two countries.
Since the COVID-19 pandemic, people-to-people exchanges between North Korea and China have in fact been extremely limited. With the service resuming after 6 years, exchanges will first begin mainly in the commercial sector, not tourism, but business-focused travel involving people engaged in commercial activities. Gradually, there is also a strong possibility that ordinary tourist exchanges will resume as well.
In any case, this resumption of train operations, the expert says, could become an important turning point for revitalizing bilateral ties.
In particular, one of the key points agreed upon at last year's North Korea-China summit included language stating that both leaders would work to improve the welfare of their respective peoples. Improving welfare between the two ultimately begins with people-to-people exchanges, through which mutual benefits and shared gains can be realized.
For now, however, travel remains tightly restricted, with early tickets reportedly limited mainly to passengers holding business visas. Since last year, North Korea has begun cautiously reopening its borders, restoring some international flights and rail links with Russia in the summer. Oh Seong, Arirang News.
The U.S. has imposed sanctions on 6 individuals and 2 institutions linked to North Korea's attempts to place IT workers in U.S. companies. According to the U.S. Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control on Thursday local time, those newly sanctioned had been using stolen identities and forged documents to secure employment in companies in the U.S. and allied countries. The Treasury Department says such schemes earned North Korea an estimated $800 million in 2024 alone to help fund its hostile weapons ambitions. Big Hit Music has unveiled a special animated trailer for BTS's upcoming single Arirang. Inspired by the first ever recording of the folk song in Washington, D.C. back in 1896, the video follows 7 young men who take the song across the Pacific to the global stage. The agency stated the film aims to share the deep emotional roots of Korean culture with a global audience. BTS is set to release their 5th full-length album on the 20th, followed by a massive performance at Gwanghwamun Square on the 21st, which will be streamed live worldwide on Netflix. Meanwhile, Netflix has officially greenlit a sequel to its record-breaking animated hit, KPop Demon Hunters. The streaming giant signed an exclusive multi-year deal with co-directors Maggie Kang and Chris Applehands to expand the franchise. The original film has already made history as Netflix's most-watched movie ever, surpassing 500 million global views. Its breakout track, Golden, also dominated the music world, reaching #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Korean-Canadian director Maggie Kang expressed her pride, stating there is still a lot more to show of this unique world. Samsung Electronics has resumed construction at its Pyeongtaek plant amid soaring global demand for AI chips, triggering a positive chain reaction that is also breathing new life into the regional economy. Our Kim Jun-ong was there.
Construction workers in safety helmets and fluorescent vests walk in line. Some grab a quick bite to eat, while others stretch and warm up in the dark. They are working to expand Samsung Electronics' Pyeongtaek campus, already the world's largest single-site semiconductor production complex. It's still before 6 in the morning. The sun isn't even up yet, but just south of Seoul here in Pyeongtaek, the day is already off to a busy start, with more than 20,000 workers pouring in every day. Construction here is in overdrive as Samsung looks to take advantage of the surging demand for chips.
The number of workers seems to have nearly tripled. Over the past few months, restaurants have been so crowded that it's hard to find a seat. That's when I really notice the surge in workers.
With the construction industry in a prolonged slump, this site has become a welcome source of jobs, drawing workers from across the country.
Since jobs are scarce elsewhere, many workers are coming here instead. I see people in shipyard vests and even rain gear from heavy industry sites.
The surge is also breathing life into nearby businesses. As lunchtime approaches, workers line up to board large shuttle buses. Run by nearby restaurants, the buses fill up quickly.
If things keep going like this, we may need to add more buses. There were times when not even a third of the seats were filled, but now all 240 seats are full. It's hectic, but we're glad.
For now, the semiconductor boom lighting up Pyeongtaek shows little sign of slowing down, with Korean firms leading the global memory market, ramping up production to meet surging demand.
As AI continues to expand, demand for semiconductors is expected to keep rising. South Korea has strong competitiveness in memory chips, along with the talent and infrastructure to support domestic production. New plants can also bring benefits to nearby businesses and local economies.
Amid the semiconductor supercycle, Korea's chip expansion appears to be only just beginning. Kim Junong, Arirang News.
South Korea's mega-hit historical drama film, The King's Warden, is proving to be hugely popular, bringing more people back to cinemas here in the country. For more, we have our culture correspondent Park Kono with us in the studio. Welcome, Kono.
Happy Friday, Hae-ryun.
So, Kono, how popular is this film right now?
Very, I must say. And the film, The King's Warden, is drawing more and more people to the theaters right now, and has remained at the top of the box office for 5 consecutive weeks since its release. And if you take a look at the screen right now, the film's also become the 4th historical Korean movie to surpass the 10 million mark. And before this, The King and the Clown in 2005 drew more than 10.5 million viewers, followed by Masquerade in 2012 with about 12.3 million. Then came The Admiral Roaring Currents in 2014, which attracted over 17.6 million viewers, the highest number ever recorded at the Korean box office. But before I tell you more, let's first take a closer look at what's driving the film's massive popularity. For the first time in around 2 years, South Korea has produced a 10 million movie, a mega hit of more than 10 million viewers, even amid a prolonged slowdown in the domestic film industry. The King's Warden, a historical drama about a village chief who offers his village as a place of exile for a young king forced from the throne, has drawn more than 12 million moviegoers as of March 11th. That means more than 1 in 5 people in Korea has already seen the film in theaters. It's now the 25th Korean movie to pass the 10 million milestone, surpassing major hits from 2 years ago, Exuma and The Roundup Punishment, which each drew over 11 million. The film's producer says a lot of effort went into developing the characters and the story.
We wanted to show a different perspective on King Daejeon, the possibility that he could have been a ruler with a strong sense of justice. We also built the story through the village chief's perspective, and viewers seem to have connected with both.
Many viewers say the story left a deep emotional impact.
Even knowing the history about King Daejeon, it made me feel quite emotional. The story seems simple, but it really stirs your emotions.
Since the king is killed by someone who took the throne through rebellion, it must have been humiliating. Watching his beliefs collapse made me feel the same sense of helplessness.
One critic says the film's success is even more meaningful at a time when theaters are struggling against the rise of streaming platforms.
The film opened as people were slowly returning to theaters. Historical films also tend to do well during long Korean holidays. With little strong competition and strong word of mouth, the movie quickly gained momentum and became a major talking point, regardless of people thinking about when the film will be released on streaming platforms.
The same critic added that the momentum accelerated after the film reached 7 to 8 million viewers, and it could potentially draw as many as 15 million. The critic also said the film's success could become a benchmark for future productions and bring new vitality to Korea's struggling film industry.
So, Kono, I understand that you have some behind-the-scenes stories about this movie.
Yes, absolutely. So the movie itself is said to have gained even more popularity thanks to the cast's outstanding performances. And among the many well-known actors in the film, including Yoo Hae-jin, who's now starred in 5 10 million movies. Audiences are also praising Park Ji-yoon, a newcomer to the big screen, for his impressive work. And the film's executive producer said there was a clear reason why Park was chosen to play King Daejeon.
We felt that Park's image matched King Daejeon very well. Of course, he was already well known as an idol, but we had also heard many positive things about his work on Weak Hero Class 1, especially about his passion for acting and his professional attitude on set.
Im also shared her thoughts that it would be even more meaningful to introduce a fresh new face to the big screen and build his filmography from there.
Well, Kono, I also hear that the film is gaining more popularity globally.
That's also right. So according to Showbox, the film's distributor, The King's Warden has been meeting audiences overseas since mid-February in 50 cities across the US and Canada. As of March 9th, the film had earned nearly $1.8 million at the North American box office. And that's an even stronger performance in the region than Korean hits such as 12-12 The Day and Extreme Job. The movie is also expanding its release, with the number of theaters expected to grow to around 150.
All right, Connor, thank you for your report as always. I hope you have a nice weekend.
Thank you, and you too. Have a nice weekend.
It was a bit breezy in the capital, but a fine early spring day. The best part was the clean air under clear blue skies. But it snowed quite a bit in mountainous regions in Chungcheong-do Province, with a heavy snow advisory being issued at times. Most of the precipitation has let up now, and we're looking at a similar weather pattern through the weekend, with wide gaps in readings in most parts of Korea. And tomorrow morning, we are beginning the day at 3 degrees Celsius here in the capital, but Gyeongju and Chuncheon will be very cold, waking up to -1 degree. But by the afternoon, Seoul will be getting up to 12 degrees Celsius under partly sunny skies, but Daegu and Gwangju both will make it to 15 degrees. And next week, temperatures are expected to stay close to seasonal norms, bringing typical mid-March spring weather with more precipitation in the forecast on Wednesday. With that in mind, here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have for tonight. I'm Moon Hae-ryun, filling in for Kim Da-mi. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.